welcome back to another episode of the Crystal Lens Experience. My name is Crystal, aka the Crystal Lens. My pronouns are she and they, and I am here to bring you another really awesome interview with a man who was actually in middle school at the time of busing. As you know, we're promoting the film The Walk, as you can see behind me if you're watching. Which was co-written by my production partner, George Powell. And it's coming out June 10th. And I got my list of cities this time because last time I had my list of cities. So it's coming out June 10th. You can catch it in Los Angeles, New York City, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Detroit, Minneapolis, and Orlando. So make sure you come out and check out The Walk. It's all about 1974 in Boston, busing, busing Black students to white schools and all that. But today we're going to get into a really dope interview with a really interesting man named James Harris. And I'm so excited to welcome him onto the show. So welcome, Mr. James.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So you mentioned to me before we started that you were in middle school at the time of busing. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about, like where you're from and how, you're connected to busing specifically?
Okay, well, I'm from Roxbury, Boston, Mass. And I used to go to a school, the grammar school, Sarah J. Baker. And I can remember like near the end of school, they gave us a petition to have people sign to keep the schools, to keep us in the schools that we were in the local neighborhoods. And then they didn't get enough petitions, and then, they didn't get enough signatures. So all of a sudden it's supposed to be, during the next school year, we're going to start busing. Now, unfamiliar with it, and just like being in the neighborhood where you was from. And when they started talking about it, it was scary because they were saying that we was going to have police escorts, people was going to be out there picketing, and just a whole bunch of things that, not familiar with. Now we're going to be integrated. So now we're going to be going to school with white people and stuff. And there were maybe one or two white people in our school that lived in our neighborhood. And I didn't think nothing big of it until they said, the chaos that was going on. So I can remember like, okay, the older kids around my neighborhood, which I grew up on Copeland Street. So the older kids are already scaring us. They're already telling us what's going to be going on and things like that. You got to stay close because they're going to be trying to get us and, things like that, fighting. So I can remember the very first time they tell us where our assigned bus routes are. We go there, get on a bus, and then we go and congregate. Like we convoy at the Bayside Expo. Now back then it was just an empty parking lot, abandonment, and then they had the Columbia Point projects like right behind us. So when we convoyed, so all the buses lined up there, they usually was the last kids that came in. So once everything got assembled, the next thing you know, we have the motorcycle brigade. Now, while we're there waiting for the buses, we got police, state troopers on horses. I remember the very first day, there was helicopters.
Wow.
And I can remember like really being nervous. It's almost like you watch a movie and you see prisoners getting shipped to a prison. That's what it felt like. So, so after that, they all come together. For every bus, there was 2 motorcycles. So we have like, we'll say 10 buses. So we have 2 in the front, 2 by side for all the buses and 2 in the back. And then, you hear the helicopters and we're off to school. And I have one, like when I tell my story, I always tell the story that I first remember when we got there. They were outside, they was picking at us, but I can remember this one old white lady with an American flag in her hand, a sign on her chest, and her middle finger sticking up saying, "Niggas go home."
Wow.
And that's what I remember. Now, in the junior high school, we didn't have the metal detectors and things.
Okay.
So, but we did have a bar right next to the school. And every day we leave, we got people throwing bottles at us.
Wow.
You know, they got their privates sticking out and they're just calling us niggas or the N-word or however.
Wow.
And you could see, like, these are grown men kind of already buzzed at 2 o'clock. They already kind of drunk.
Right.
And they are so adamant about us not being there that we're like kids.
Right. You're just kids.
We're just kids and they're throwing bottles and things at us. Wow. So after that, so, you know, I get through the junior high. Now it's time to go to the high school. And nothing had died down because, you know, like, you know, you talked about earlier with George, that there was a lot of documentaries. Right. You know, and you see this documentary, but the tension was still there. And I can remember, you know, going to the high school now, it's a little different because now we got the metal detectors. We got now let me just go back real quick.
And this is a couple years later, right? That
this is 3 years later, but I'm going to go back to the high school to the junior high, because a lot of things happened like during the junior high years, because, you know, there wasn't really riots, but anytime there was a riot at the high school, they would, grown folks to us, they look grown, you know, but there was grown men, you know, high school students come down to the junior high. And you can hear the, you know, the aides on the walkie-talkies telling them to lock the doors and lock the doors. And we could be in a machine shop. And next thing you know, it's like, you know, a gorilla at a zoo. They're banging on the windows, you know, calling us niggas. They telling us to get, our teachers are telling us to get away from the windows. But we had bars on the windows, so they couldn't get in through there. But it was like a scary experience. Right.
And you're just trying to get it, like, on a real basic level, you're just trying to get an education.
Yeah. But the thing about that, the schools were really no different from the schools in Roxbury, you know, that the schools that I went to, you know, so.
Tell me about that.
Like the schools, I mean, the schools in Roxbury seemed like the same thing. It didn't seem like we were higher education or nothing. It just seemed like we just was bused to different schools. It was the same type of school that I left. It was no different.
So the quality wasn't necessarily higher.
It wasn't like Black people going to the Mecca program. You know what I mean? It was just normal schools, just like the schools I left, with the same quality or type of teachers that I just left. I didn't see the purpose. I can remember, like, on the news when they was first talking about it, Louise Day Hicks, you know, she was the person that kind of started the busing for us to have, I guess, to segregate and to have a better quality of education, but it didn't seem no different, honestly.
Wow. That's powerful. That's really powerful, because I think the perception of what, you know, people talk about when they say, you know, busing and things like that was like, oh, they're busing poor Black kids into these other neighborhoods so that they can have a better education. And it was about, yes, integration, but I always hear that, like, the point of it was a better education, but to hear you say that the quality wasn't even that much higher, it was like, what was the point? What was the point of putting y'all through all of that?
Yeah. And the thing is, it was like taking poor Black students and sending them to poor white schools. That's what it was like. So that, you know, that should have been what they, you know, what it read, because that's all it was. South Boston was, you know, it looked no different. It looked a little grayer to me, you know, a little duller, you know. So, you know, going to high school, I can remember, like, you know, going through the metal detectors, and I can remember, you know, like I can remember, like, they would set up riots, you know. So I can remember one time my homeroom class was in the music department. And then I can remember, like, you know, and I was skinny, and I hadn't had that growth spurt yet. So a lot of the guys that was in my class were a little bigger. So I can remember them saying, you know, listen, they're gonna try something, stay close. So I can remember, because our homeroom class was in the music where the auditorium was. So we would go and then go down some stairs. And the class was where they held all the music instruments. So now we go back up, and there's some white kids sitting in the audience, like sitting in the auditorium chairs. And then one says something, and then white guy says something, black guy responds. And then next thing you know, the doors close, they put sticks in them. Now we have nowhere to run. We have nowhere to go. So we're there fighting.
They blocked you guys in?
They blocked us in because there's two exits, one on this side, one on that side. So what they did was close the doors, stick some broomsticks in it, and next thing you know, they came out everywhere. So it's about, we'll say about 12 of us, and it's about 30 of them.
Wow.
And I can remember that, back then, this is when the haircut, the short waves, and everybody was carrying like metal brushes. But I still had like a little mini afro, so I had a pick. So that became my weapon.
Wow. And this is in school?
This is in school. I went from picking my hair to using it to keep the white people off of me. And then the bell rang, and next thing you know, it was the black people came from out of nowhere. And it was just, mayhem. It was just mayhem. It was like, it lasted, it seemed like a long time, but it lasted no more than probably 5 minutes. And then, next thing you know, we start getting strong in forces, and now they're running out to school. So
how did so more black people showed, so I was going to say, like, how did it end? You know what I mean? I'm thinking like, how do you disperse this?
It ended with some people knocked out and wounded on the ground, the aides on their radios calling for the buses to come. And then, the white people running out to school. And they would have ways to get in, like through the machine shop, through the auto body shop, and things like that. And they would set you up. Like the rule was, don't be down in the basement, like the gym, the woodworking class, right, the machine shops and things, the welding class. You couldn't be down there by yourself. If you get caught down there, know that you're going to get jumped. Right. Know that they're coming to get you. Wow. And know that they're there in full force. And a lot of things was, people that were there didn't even attend the school. They weren't in the classes. You'll see them during football season. You'll see them during hockey season, but you would see them no time. When the game was to be played, they would show up. These guys had beards down their hair, looked old and frolicky, right, but we never seen them in a class.
Wow. And so are these adults or these students?
They're like adults. So if going to high school, you're around 16, right? Leave around when you're 18, 19. All right. So if we're like 15 and 16, they look 19, 20. They look 19, 20, 21, and things like that.
Wow.
I can remember another time. Go ahead if you want to say something.
No, I'm just like processing it because I love how descriptive you are, because I feel like you literally like place me in there. And this is a new perspective that, I haven't heard this story before of like, y'all being locked in the auditorium and, them coming out of nowhere and just kind of like jumping y'all, and like, that's crazy to me. Like, how did you, so I'm curious about the school year, like overall, like how was the school year? How often was this happening? How was your education?
Education for me, I really say I could have got more, but like it was poor. Right. It was poor because too many distractions. Plus, I'm like a class clown, so so I had my days of having fun and being silly, and right, lacking and not getting the education that I could have got. But right, with that being said, I did graduate. I graduated a year late, but there were like it kind of died down. But before it died down, there were a lot of riots. There were riots with one time, Roots was on TV. Right. So Roots was on. Now you got angry black people. Mm. Now, if anything sets off, we're ready now because, we're mad now. Watching right, Roots every day for 6 days in a row, or how long it was on TV. It was a series. Right. So Roots is on. We're mad. The riot breaks out. I can remember a friend of mine coming through the swing doors and his chains hanging off and his ears cut. And I don't know, and I'm not going to lie, because at the time, if you run, you're a coward. So I have to stay there and fight. And next thing you know, we're fighting. And it always seems to happen the same way. Like after the fight, they would kind of do it just to get days off of school. So this particular time, it was real intense. It was a real, like it had been happening for a while. So the last day it happened, there were a few pregnant girls in school. They're outside, they call the buses. And I can remember one of my teachers, his name was Earl Garrett. And he was a gym teacher, basketball coach and things like that. And he's going around classes telling us that, this is, intense. And we're going to need you guys to protect the women. And,
wow.
We have
wait. This is the gym teacher telling the male students that they needed to protect the
they needed, when the buses come, when we go out, we want the guys on the outside, wow. Right? We want the women on the inside, and we want them to get on the bus first.
Wow.
Because they were throwing stones, they were still out there, and things like that. And then, but before that, I can remember, like, after we get the people, after the white guys disperse from school or the troublemakers, there's still white students that their mother told them to go there and get an education, right. That they're in school. So they even though the riot popped off, these people are still in classes, either being protected by the teacher or still trying to, follow the lesson. And I can remember, like, just like a mob, we're going around and we're looking for people, the white boys or the white kid, to get revenge. So we're walking around the school, and I can remember, like, my English teacher, his name was Mr. O'Neill. And I can remember him, and it was like a couple of kids in his class. And then we go in there, but he's standing firm to protect them. And what I told the guys that I was with at the time, I said, listen, we're only looking for the troublemakers. So let's leave these guys alone. And I can remember, everybody looking at each other, they're kind of mad because they just want to, get their little piece in. Right. And then all of a sudden, we kind of turn around and we go out. There's two doors. We come in one door and we go out the other door. And we go around the school looking for revenge. Right. Right. Wow. Because we're going to be there until the buses come. Yeah, and I'm just processing all of this, because I guess my other question is, how often did you guys have to leave school, like in the middle of the day, or how often was your day disrupted? Now, this particular time, we stayed out of school for 2 weeks. Wow. On that. And when we got to the expo center, the news people was out there and they were interviewing us. And I wanted to know, what was the purpose of us going out there? Why every time we come out there, we have to go through this. Right. And then right after that, it was a snowstorm. And now we're out of school for 2 more weeks. So we spent a whole month out of school this particular time. Wow. And then when we went back, it would be okay for a while. And then all of a sudden, this particular time, I'll tell you another story. Yeah. So, and how long, before you tell me the story, how long is like a while, right? Like, how long was it between? Like, it would last, like, you'll have a few fights, but no riots. There would be, the racial fighting, and you could hear the aides and stuff, but then it would die down for like a couple of months. So how long is a school year? Like 9 months? 9 months, yeah. All right, so 9 months, it was like, in the beginning, there'd be like a few riots. There'll be riots where every day we're leaving. The buses are being called, we're gone. Right. They'll let it die. After the weekend will come, you'll start school again, and you might have like something early on, but it wouldn't be a riot. It would just be fights. If you, like I said, if you get caught down in the basement, you're getting jumped. So people would get jumped, but it wouldn't spark a riot. Right. See, they kind of planned the riots. We just defended them. So, so instead of, all right, we never really sparked nothing. So they would set it up, say they wanted, I guess, a week off. I don't know how they, planned it. Right. But it would be every, like it would start off in the early months. It would be 3 riots in a month. And then it would die down. So you'll have like a month and 2 months going, would be nothing. Then all of a sudden it would spark again. And then, it would be it would die down. But at one time they had it it was running smooth. The school year was running smooth. And then one particular day, like it's close to getting warm. And all of a sudden one day, the convoy of buses, and we had to go, like when we went, like when the buses traveled, they traveled in a big square. So we would come up the street, turn, take a left, take another left, and then we'll be right in front of the school. So they would be 2 by 2 by 2 buses. So there's like 8 buses, maybe more. I don't remember. We'll say 8 buses.
Sure.
Right? But this particular day, we take the first left, we go up the hill, take the second left, and there's a kid laying in the middle of the street.
A Black kid or a white kid?
White kid laying in the street. All the buses stop. That street's long enough for all of us to be on it. So all of it, and then out of nowhere, a bunch of white kids with baby jars full of paint, just hurling them at the bus, breaking windows. You got paint and glass all on you, specks of, you're getting cut up. We open the back doors and, we're in full pursuit. They take off.
Wow. So they planned that. So was that the kid in the street? That was like the decoy?
Street. Yeah, he was like he had got hit. So he's laying in the street like he's hit by a car. Like he's a teenager. He's not like a kid, but he's like a student. Yeah. So he's laying in the street and the buses come around and they all stop. And the next thing they're coming from behind cars out of backyards and stuff like that. And I'm talking about paint, broken glass everywhere.
Wow.
We jump out the back seats, we start chasing them. They run, some will stay, and we catch 1 or 2 and get a couple licks in. And then it would be, back in the bus. But we're at school like this with paint all over us, broken.
I was gonna say, you got to go to school with paint and glass on you.
Got to go to the nurse. The buses are damaged. We got paint and broken glass everywhere. And it was just, and the thing I never understood is but listening to the interview with George is, we never had their perspective. We never know how they felt about us, coming into their schools, whatever things they did on a normal, we altered that. So, like you said, they're mad because that understanding, I didn't understand it.
Right. And I think that's the thing too, is that having, like you said, the understanding and understanding the other perspective is so important. Important. Because I think on both sides, this is what we were talking about with George too, is like, there was fear and there was just like displaced emotions and people were just lashing out. Some people were definitely angry and just hateful, of course, right? Like you have that, but it was just to understand what was going on. That was kind of scary too for people.
Yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
And the thing is that, they give us a bad reputation anyway, the stereotype, we're stereotype, yeah, as barbaric and all this, we carry disease, all these things. We're monkeys and we got tails under, but we never thought of how they felt for us coming in. It was forced on them. It was definitely forced on us,
right?
And it was just done. They said, well, this is what we're going to do because we're going to desegregate the school. And I can remember like I said, Louise Day Hicks, she was the mother. I went to school with John and Daryl. And I can remember having a fight with them where I almost got kicked out of that school, out of South Boston High, and shipped to Hyde Park. Now, all my people that I was affiliated with or friends with or, co-students with, they all went to Southie. So I didn't want to go to Hyde Park, but I can remember having a fight with Daryl in the woodworking shop. His brother jumped in, so I binged them up, and they had us in what they call the holding. Like we had a holding unit where Black people were in one holding unit, white people were in the other, and they had 2 monitors, the aides there. And even in being in there, you would still fight. You would still be rioting. They got a few students here, and if you was outnumbered, if you was like 2 Black guys and they're coming to get you. They're gonna try. And the thing that made it so weird is because instead of the monitors being in the middle, they were on the far left, and then the black room was next to that, and then the white room was at the farther right. But there's nothing between us, that could stop us from, attacking each other.
Right.
So a lot of fights would stop because of that.
Right.
We'd be in there, and that was in the basement also, where we really not supposed to be alone.
Right. And was this school a technical school? Like, was it just like a regular school that
it was
had
a public school, but it had technical things. It was like a trade school almost, because it had woodworking, it had machine shop, it had welding, it had auto mechanics, and a few other things. Yeah, but it was like a trade school more. It was a public school, trade school /
Right. So let me ask you this, James. Do you feel like the monitors, the aides, and the teachers were equipped for everything that was going on during busing?
I think they did a good job. I don't think they was equipped because people are clever. Like when they set up to do like the paint on the kid on the street and the paint, that was like, even though they got us, we were saying, damn, that was a good one. We're like, damn, that was a good one. That was clever.
That was creative.
Yeah, but they did good for not having, no weapons, and they had to handle it. It's like being a CO in the joint, in jail. It's like, and that's what it was like. And they're already outnumbered, right? Because it's not enough of them, right? So, but one thing I want to do, I want to say about the busing, and what the busing did for me, it brought unity to Black communities. It brought, you got Orchard Park here, you got Columbia Point there, you got Uppers Corner, you got all these areas that used to fight with each other. Right. Now we're going to school fighting together. Right. And that's one of the things that, now you're able to be friends with a person that you were enemies with. Right. And I'm not saying, being young, you're not real enemies. You're just, it
was like neighborhood beef.
But yeah, exactly. So, but what that did was brought us all together. It made us look out for each other. It didn't care if you was from Orchard Park and he was from the Point or whatever, wherever the beach was, and we was from Copeland and they was from Blue Hill Ave. When the riots started, or when the fights started, we fought together.
Right. And I think the other thing too, just for folks who are watching and listening to kind of understand, in other parts of the country, you had like Bloods, Crips, right? Like you had like specific gangs, but in Boston specifically, like it was more like neighborhood for neighborhood.
Yeah, there's none of that. We don't even allow that type of gang, activity.
Yeah, it was just a neighborhood thing.
It was neighborhoods, like you said, like a lot of us are segregated. So we're segregated. I mean, and we're in certain areas, and you protect that little certain area that you call your home or your street or your neighborhood. So, now let me see. I had another story. Oh, I'm gonna tell you the story. I'm gonna tell you the story about the basketball team. It was kind of funny because we played ball. After school, you do your drills and all that stuff. And it was like I can remember the one white kid. His name was Dennis. And he was on it, and he played, and he was pretty good. But I can remember, like, we got comfortable. This is when it's comfortable time. We're kind of not riding as much. But I can remember that we got bold enough because there was a corner store right outside of our school. To the left, you go outside to the left, and it was a store there. So I can remember us going in there, running. We go to the school. I mean, we get out of school. We're waiting for the bus. The bus is out. We go to the store before school. We're going to the store before the bus comes. So we run to the store, and we grabbing chips and sodas and Snickers bars, and we're putting them on the counter. And then we're telling the lady, "Excuse us, can you hurry up because the bus is going to be outside." And she's just sitting there. And we're like, "Excuse us, ma'am." She said, "I don't know why you're here, because I don't serve niggas." And we was like, "Oh, okay. So since you don't serve us, start taking it." And we left. got on the bus, and the next day, you know, we're getting off the buses and they're pulling certain people, pulling you out of the line. Yo, Harris over here, Rep over here, Smith over here. So all of us are standing there. And then they bring the lady in. So they say, excuse us, man, can you identify any of these students that was in your store? And she says, nah, because all niggas look the same to me.
Wow.
And they said, well, we can't do nothing. And they told her to leave, you know, but we couldn't go in the store no more. So that's where Dennis comes in, and he goes to get our stuff every day before, you know, at the end of practice.
And Dennis was the one white kid on the basketball.
He was the one white kid. Yeah, he was the one white kid. Now, I wasn't really a player. I tried out. They wanted to put me on JV, so I didn't play. I just want to tell, because I don't want no guys seeing this and be like, you didn't play on the basketball team. I was the cameraman.
Ah.
Yeah, so I should be doing what you're doing now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the camera guy. I tried out. They wanted to put me on JV, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing no JV.
Right.
I'm better than that.
Yeah, so you was cameraman.
Yeah, I was cameraman.
I love that. We have a connection.
I used to go to the school, you know. I can remember going to Hyde Park and they got mad because we beat them and they acted like, you know, we was in South Boston and bricked our bus.
Wow. And this is another Black school that you're talking about.
Another Black school. Another school that they bus Black people to. And that's what they did. They bombed us. We jumped out the back seats, you know, the back door, and we went to get them.
So you said they bused Black students to other Black schools as well?
Like Hyde Park was like a predominantly white area. Back then, you know, it was like kind of upper classes, you know, you go as far as going up towards Hyde Park, Dorchester Ave, or whatever it was, I forget Hyde Park Ave, but we didn't go that far. That was like whites, you know, that was considered, you know, out of our jurisdiction.
Right, there was boundaries that you had to stay within.
Yeah, you could be on, like Savin Hill was like almost, it was like kind of like a mixed area, but on one side you have these, you know, whites, and on the other side you have Blacks. So a certain way up was as far as you can go. And that's like, you get caught there, you know, you get jumped.
Wow. This is like, I'm gonna have to like obviously watch this back, listen back, and like process this, because you've just given so much information.
That's what I told George I was going to do.
Yeah. And George was like, I got you somebody. And I was like, send him my way, George. This is amazing.
He told me, I said, but this is what I told him. I said, man, you should have came to me for information for the movie, you know? Because I said, but you know, we lost touch, and I'm glad that he's back. I'm supposed to go to the premiere. I'm in South Carolina right now.
Okay, got it.
I don't live in Boston no more, but I'm in South Carolina. So, you know, I'm supposed to be going up there for the premiere. I'm gonna surprise some people, you know, see some family members and things like that. So, but I'm very excited, man. And watching the interview with you and him got me that much more excited.
Nice.
You know, because I was like, oh, this is deep. But
because I mean, my goal is just to tell stories that haven't been told, you know what I mean? To capture them so that somebody, whether it's the younger generation or someone who's not familiar with Boston and busing, so that they can have an understanding, right? Again, going back to that, of a different perspective, because go for it.
The thing about that, like a lot of the young Black kids need to know about it, because see, if they knew how we had to group together and things like that as a Black community, or just Black neighborhoods bound together to stop, then they wouldn't be fighting and killing and doing the stuff that they're doing now. They need to know that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because because it's not like this is 50 years ago.
No, this is 70s.
I mean? It's not that long ago. I mean, it is a long time when you think about it, but you know, these are our children and grandchildren. Right. You know, these are, you know, our children that don't even have an idea. Right. They're too busy being angry at each other not to know what we faced, because we face that on a regular basis. This is part of our education. So for 7 years, and I stayed an extra year, so 8 years for me, because of the riots and things like that, you know, it was harder, and it was harder, and you know, staying an extra year. So I stayed 8 years in that type of environment. I've been to jail or I've been to prison, but I mean, I did like a year and a half, 18 months, and you know, whatever. But being in prison was nothing like going to school. It was
Tell me about that.
Like I had riots. Because in jail it's just the same thing. In prison it's the same thing. It's segregated and things like that. You know your boundaries and stuff like that. But it was easier to maintain the ambushes and the surprise attacks. You don't get them. I mean, people, you know, have, you know, you got beef and things, but you don't have that same intensity that I had as a young adult going into adulthood, a young child going into adulthood, because it was more severe in school than it was in prison. Wow. Like been in riots, more riots in school than I've been in prison.
That is profound to real, and I think that puts that into perspective as well. Like that you literally experienced more riots in schools,
more fight and more hate, more violence in school than I did in prison.
That's deep. That is very, very deep. What do you, I have a couple questions for you, but one I think is, I'm curious about your parents and just kind of what they told you, if anything, or if they prepped you or whoever your guardians were at the time, you know.
It was just my mother,
It was just your mom?
Yeah, but my mother's funny because I'm gonna tell you a story. Like I had a teacher, I never went to like the seventh period class. I would sneak out of school, get on the bus, go home and, you know, go to a job or whatever I was doing at the time. But I can remember this lady says, I've never seen, she's like, they said my name while she was around because I got picked up for a hooking class, we'll say. I don't really remember, but I had like hook class. And then they said James Harris. The lady said James Harris. Her name was Miss Holland. She was a light-skinned Black lady. She was mean. She was biology, and I should have went because she was very informative. So anyway, so I'm in the office. Excuse me. I'm in the office. She says, Mr. Harris is in my class, but he's never been there. I've never seen him in my class. And I said, yeah, that's because I leave because I don't like you. You mean? Because she was mean. And I figured, you know, that's what she said.
I don't blame you. She was mean.
So what they do is they call my mother. Okay, we have to get to the bottom of this. Where do you go? Seventh period. And, you know, I said, well, I get on the minivan and they, you know, and the work study truck, the bus, and I leave. So they call my mother. And when they call my mother, first thing my mother said is, listen, I didn't want him there in the first place. And now that he's giving you problems, don't call me because I didn't want him out there anyway. So I'm like in the back and I'm laughing and I'm pointing. So then they say, and then she says, well, put him on the phone. So when I get on the phone, the first thing my mother said, what are you doing? Didn't I tell you not to embarrass me? Don't make me come out there and whoop your ass in front of people. Now they hear me, they hear my mother, and now they're like this and pointing at me. But you know, that's just the way my mother, I mean, I had to go to school. My mother told us we have to go to school. And it was like, you know, that it wasn't, I'm not gonna say she didn't have worries because she worried when we weren't home when the street lights went out, you know, and calling, you know, I mean, it wasn't cell phones and things like back then. So she couldn't even contact. You have to wait and worry till we get home, you know. So, you know, but I mean, in that process, it was like everybody on my street went, mostly all of them went to South Boston. So it was just y'all stick together and you stick with the older ones and you be careful out there, you know, because I don't want nothing to happen to you. But I don't really think she was as worried as we were because she didn't know what we were really going through. You know, and then after a while, like with anything, you get numb to certain things. You know, you get numb to it. So, you know, you go to school, you just got to be careful. You know, you got to, you know the boundaries and things like that. So after a while, it was school as normal with, you know, the slight distractions.
Right.
So, you know, we just do it just to do it. We have to go. You got to go. I got to get up and go to school.
Right. That's literally how school was at the time. And like you said, you became like numb to it, became the norm.
Yes, the norm. That's what it became.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where you learn how to fight. You know, a lot of people got educated. You know, you toughen up your skills there. You get, you know, you learn how to fight.
You got a little of both.
Yeah, now you know. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not going to get into the fights and stuff like that, but for the most part, you know, it was like being in boot camp in the army, because you definitely learn some things. You learn survival tactics and how to, you know, point out the aggressor before he gets to you, and know that your instincts kick in. And like I said, and I'll compare it to prison anytime, it was more intense in school than it was there. I've done little bits, so you know, nothing major, but I know that school was way more. It was way more intense.
Wow. So I'm curious if we, you know, now that we're in the 70s, we fast forward to 2022, and what do you want, you know, young people, folks, let's start with the young people. What do you want young people to take away from your story, from what you've shared with us, from the busing? What would you like them to learn?
To learn that as a whole, that we're all, like, I have this thing that I told my children a long time ago. I didn't allow them to fight with each other and things like that, because I tell you, as a Black person, you have a tougher fight anyway. So that means that you want to stick together, and that's what we need to do. Because now, like, there's the, you know, more vivid police brutality. More now with the internet, there's more hate crimes, and we have to learn how to stick together. They say that the Black people are the last people that ever get their piece of the pie, because we don't know how to stick together. We have to learn that we're not the enemy of each other. We're the brothers and sisters of each other. You know, the aunts and uncles and mothers and things like that. And we just need to stick together. And it's crazy, because a lot of the young kids don't know that most of the people that you're hurting and killing are people that your parents know, they grew up with, they're friends of, you know, and things like that. Because Boston's this big. Yeah. It's that big. So all these people that you're fighting against are someone's son and mother that the next person knows. You know what I mean? So, and if my message to people in 2022, to young kids and things like that, we got to stop hurting each other. They hurt us a long time ago, and they will continue to hurt us. You don't have to be the enemy of each other. Right. Because there's already enemies out there. People don't like us for whatever reason. I have a t-shirt that I haven't made, but it's so powerful because it expresses like a thing about the Black man. You know, but the thing is that, you know, we're in a time where it's things that's done to us is deliberate. Right. Like it's upfront, focal. We are the target. So we must stick together and protect each other instead of hurting and killing each other. So that's my message for them. I love that. I love that. Absolutely love that. I appreciate this so much. Is there anything that I feel like we touched on more than I anticipated? Let's start there. Well, that's good. This is good. Is there anything that, I was gonna say, is there anything else that we missed, or anything that is like on your heart and your spirit before we wrap this up? I mean, I just wish it was different. I wish that, like, you know, I wish we, honestly, it sounds like a cliche. I just wish we can all get along. It's so, like, what I never understood is how can they hate us so much? You know, for something that they hate us so much, and we don't even know what we did.
Yeah.
It's like being punished for something that you have no idea why you're being punished for. Nobody tells you nothing. They just punish you. They hurt you, they attack you, they kill you. And nobody knows why. Is like, how can you breed that much hate?
Right.
Like, I don't get it. Even when we was going to school, and I've seen, like I said, they used to pick at us. And when I say pick, I never even knew why. I didn't know why we was being bused. I didn't know why we was being picketed. I didn't know why they were rioting us.
Right.
I didn't know why we had to run from this place to get over the bridge. If you get caught at Andrew Station, once you got over the bridge, they would stop. And but you just don't know why.
Right.
And that's what I would like a definitive answer to why.
Right. Why were you so angry? Why were you so
hateful?
Why? Especially to children.
And that's what gets me, because even just like that incident that happened, that just recently happened, where the guy went and gunned down all them children in school, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
How can you be so cruel to something so innocent?
So innocent.
And if that was the case, go get somebody that can retaliate. Go get somebody that can fight you back or shoot back at you. Right. You went and slayed a group of children.
People's babies.
Yeah.
People's babies.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And like, where does that anger come from? What did that particular group of kids do to you? Nothing.
Right.
Now you got them in fear. The ones that survive will be in trauma, shock, terror,
PTSD.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. And that's so true, because we brought that up a little bit when we chatted with George about like the school shootings and stuff like that. And it's just like, there's been so many distractions for kids to get an education from the dawn of time. Like, this is so many like distractions, and it's just like the one job is to just get an education, and it is so difficult to do just that.
Exactly. It makes it almost impossible. And we're not even going to have that bright group of students that do big things, because if not for, things like that happening, taking away their ability to learn or making them shell shocked so they won't absorb all they need to know, you got people killing, inspiring people. You never know what they're going to be because they got wiped out.
Right.
People just killing. And one of the questions that nobody can answer is when did it become so easy to kill?
Yeah.
Like, when does it become so easy? Like, I had a theory, it's just my theory. It's just like people who live in the South and, and they do farm animals and stuff. If you can slaughter 20 cows a day, cut their stomachs, cut their throats and stuff, what makes you think that he can't kill a person? Right. Or what makes they need psyche. People who do them type of jobs need to go and sit down with a shrink so they can not get taken away by that easily how you kill.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do, because it's a mentality, but it's a constant, like, if you're slaying every day, whether it's cows, pigs, like that, you're killing another life, and there's something that's just,
it becomes nothing to you. You become like I said earlier, numb to it. Then what happens now? You can go out there and kill a group of people and don't even have that thought like you did something bad.
That's why I say everybody needs a therapist. Get you a beautiful therapist. Mental health services should be, available, like,
but you know how hard it is
for
for
everyone.
Black people. You know how hard it is for Black people to get a therapist. They think if they go to therapy, something's really wrong with them.
Yeah, and it's like, no, this is the one. And let me say this, because this is like, I know this has nothing to do with busting, but it's important, right? I was in therapy for 7-8 years, and when I tell you, that was the one time every single week where the entire session revolved around me. It had nothing to do with anyone else. It was about me and making sure that I could get through my shit. Whatever shit that I want. It wasn't like she's telling me what I need to get over, or she's telling me what to do. It was me saying, hey, I'm feeling this way and that way. I would like some help, right? And I think some people got to get to that point of realizing that there's something better, right? Like you don't have to live with chronic depression. You don't have to live with chronic anxiety. You don't have to live, with PTSD ruining your life, because my mental health was running my life for so long that I didn't even know that it was a possibility to get on the other side of it and have good days for multiple days and not be sad and crying or anxious or having flashbacks and stuff like that. So I'm such a huge proponent of mental health services, especially for Black people, marginalized folks who have just like been through it. Like, go get yourself a therapist. You know what I mean? I know it's like, it costs money and stuff like that, but get you a therapist.
Out there. There's programs out there to help you.
Yeah, there's so many
such a big issue. It's become such a, and people thought, oh, he's just crazy or whatever. And you see like Delonte West, from the, he played basketball. And then you see just like Jaheim, and they had mental health issues that really ruined their ability to do what they was doing good and getting paid to do.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. And you see people, and and it's just crazy because you don't know what people go through.
Right.
And just like George was talking about, the other side, like, asking the people, how do they feel? Nobody asked them. They just shoved it down their throats.
Right.
They just put us in a situation. Right. And then we dealt with it the best we know how.
Exactly.
So,
Wow. I love it. I love it. This has been even better conversation than I could have ever anticipated. And I'm just very appreciative for you and your story and all that you went through, and just your perspective as well of being able to, talk about it, So I just want to say thank you.
I yearn to talk about it. Like I've yearned to talk about it. Like when he told me, man, I'm like, man, you could have came and got some footage, some ideas from me, because it was traumatic. And traumatic things you don't forget.
You don't.
So that's why the stories are fresh. They're like fresh. There's more, but them are the ones that I always, especially the one about the old lady with the American flag and the middle finger. She was in a wheelchair. But she was out there, and that's what made my first question. Why do these people hate us so much? If you had that much energy, you look like you're dwindling away, so you're probably close to death. But you're that adamant about being out there, protesting us being there, and you're sick. You're sickly. You can barely walk because you're in a wheelchair, but it didn't stop her from being out there.
Right.
And when do you go to school? In September? So it's kind of chilly. We got the cold breeze in the air, but she was out there full force, front and center. Wow. Like this
middle finger.
This nigga go home with a middle finger up, an American flag, and a wheelchair, saying nigga go home.
Wow. Mr. Harris,
yes,
sir, you have this has been a magical episode. Let me
you make sure you tell George that. I know he's going to see it once you edit it and all that, but you let him know ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Tell him, yeah, I did this for him too.
Absolutely. I'm going to call him right after this and tell him, George, listen, baby, okay, like we did something magical, because Boston, that's the thing, is like, and we talked about it before. I keep saying I'm gonna wrap up, and then I'm like, one more thing.
We can go. Because
I definitely have to have you back on for sure. That you can guarantee I will have you back on the Crystal Lens Experience. But I don't know. I'm just like, I just think of all these stories that need to be told.
But it's funny, right? Because I live in the South now, and I can remember, like every time I go to a job or hang out and stuff, people ask me, am I from New York or New Jersey? And then I say, nah, I'm from Boston. And then you get that there's Black people in Boston.
Like, hell yeah, there's Black people in Boston. Damn it.
In Boston. Yeah, it's crazy though, because they act like there's none.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we're here and we represent.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm gonna say it again, that like between me, between George, between the people that we're all connected to, like we're gonna put Boston on the map and tell the Black
I'm down story. For that. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are part of it. You are
Well, thank you
officially
for having me. Thank you for
stamped
making me a
part of
part of
it.
it. Well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough. For sharing your story, for all that. Like, I'm so appreciative. And I just want to tell the folks one more time that the walk is coming out June 10th. So if you want to see a Hollywood depiction of this real life story that James has told us today, check out the walk. It's going to be in theaters June 10th. Okay, be there wherever you're at. I'm going to read the list of cities again in case folks missed it the first time
Tell
in the
them again.
beginning. We're going to tell you Los Angeles, New York City, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Detroit, Minneapolis, and Orlando. I need y'all to all pull up June 10th, okay?
And that's how you know the movie has that factor, because where it's being played in, these are major cities.
Major cities.
So he's done a good job, him and his co-writer. I forget his name, but
Daniel Adams, he's his co-writer. All good.
And they did it well. I haven't seen it. I watched a little,
the trailer.
And I'm just hoping, like he said, these people get some awards. I see him on an award show and his crew getting, accepting some honors.
Oh yeah, he's getting an Oscar. He's getting an Oscar.
That's so good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a good feeling. I can say, but I brag about, like, even when he first did it, like, and he told me, yo, Jiz, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. As soon as he said it, I did it. You send me that, I put it on my Facebook, boom, and I tell people, you do this, I do that. Oh, I got somebody I need you to talk to. Go ahead, give me, as soon as he gave me the information, I hit you up. So that day when he gave it to me, 10 seconds later, I had hit you up, you responded, and now we're here.
Yeah, making that happen.
Making it
absolutely we're making it happen. And this is not the last time that y'all gonna see this man again on the Crystal Lens Experience. We're gonna have him back. We're gonna tell some more stories, because I can just feel it in my heart and my shundo that you have a treasure chest of stories to share with us. So we're gonna have you back. We're gonna have you on the show again. I just want to say thank you. I said it like 10,000 times, but thank you for sharing your story. Like,
thank you for having me. Thank you for, giving me the opportunity to talk about it, because I tell stories all the time. I've told these to many people that I've met down here when they don't understand what's going on, and I say, y'all are, so slave, y'all act like a bunch of slaves. Y'all let these people kind of dictate how you move. You're scared to get chastised or whatever. Nah, you speak, man. Speak your mind, and don't let nobody. They know. They see. I'm hard to deal with. Like down here, I don't take none of it. I was scared when my mother, when we first came down here. And this is just off the record. When I first came down here, it was during the time when the kid, that Dylan Booth or whatever his name is, killed all them people at the church. And we was coming down here for my family reunion, but I was staying. And it got to the point where my mother kept saying to me, right, please be good. Because she know, how I am. If I'm scared, if you put me in a corner like a rat, I'm gonna do some damage. And I was so scared that these people were gonna be so racist and so vivid about it. Like, it's going to be on the front line. They're going to, they're not going to hide it. And I was scared that I was going to be in jail in no time, because I thought I was going to have to show my ass because they was going to show theirs, and I wasn't going out like that. But it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And being down here is a slower pace, but people are so brainwashed, sort of, that, it's like, I work at a warehouse. It's like we're field niggas, and then they have some, every once in a while, you got some black person in charge, and he's that house nigga that keeps you in line, and master's gonna send you out. They walk you out of here. And I said, I don't care. There's other jobs, but I'm not gonna be what you want me to be, because I have a voice. I'm speaking. You're not going to treat me any old kind of way. So that's what I go by, and I try to teach them how to get out of that slave mentality.
It's the mentality. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said, we're gonna have to have you back on.
Well,
I'm
sure,
gonna
I'll be
close
there.
this thing on now, but
I'm be a local
listen.
celebrity.
Yes, you're gonna be a local celebrity. I'm gonna put you on the
Celebrity.
map. I got you, sir. I got you. I
All
got
right.
you. All right, so let's close this thing on out. Thank
All
y'all
right.
so much for watching and listening to another episode of
People
the
is
Crystal
watching it?
Lens Experience. Yes, they're gonna watch it, they're gonna listen to it, all
Okay.
of the above. It's gonna
Okay.
be great. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And until next time, we out.
Love, peace, and soul.
Hey.